Okay, now start. BODS. Okay. So BODS is an ETL tool. Um, when I say ETL tool, it can do extraction, transformation, and loading. It is an ETL tool from SAP, which can basically extract data from some source and do all the necessary transformations, whatever we want, and then load the data into the target bus. So BODS, BO Data Services, is an ETL tool, yeah, which can do the ETL for us. So, so when you HANA is a database, right? HANA is a database. So by using BODS, we can load data into HANA. So through BODS, I can extract data from any of the source and load data into API. So that's what when I say leveraging BODS as the data provisioning tool here. Since many of you have no idea on BODS, okay. So what we would do is just to get a fair idea on what BODS is. If you go to data services, you see a lot of menus here. Data services designer and then server manager, repository and all this stuff. Among this, there's something called repository manager, very, very important. So we need to understand something called repositories. Just try to understand this logic. Say you're installing BW. What do we do? First, we would install some database. No voice. Okay.
We are able to hear you, sir.
Okay. Okay. So when you look at, see, we need to know something called repository before we get into the BOD. So let's say you have SAP BW bus. So whenever you install SAP BW application, we install with the database. Say first you install some database. It could be MS SQL or Oracle or DB2, whatever it is. And then you install BW on top of the database. Then once the BW is installed, when you log in and when you start creating all your objects, you're creating a cube or creating a DSO, you're creating a transformation, so you're creating a data source, you're creating info packages, DTPs, all this. Detailed information about all these objects will be stored into some standard tables in the backend database. Because BW has got its own database, the detailed metadata or information about all your detailed objects will be stored into the underlying database on which the BW has been installed. So this point is clear. But when you look at BODS, it's a plain front-end ETL tool. It is just like a lightweight component. When you install this, generally a database we can install without associating any database to it. So let's say I have installed BODS without any database as the backend. And then once it is installed, let's say I log into BODS and then I'm trying to create some ETL flows. Say I'm saying I'm trying to create some connections to the source systems, different systems. Then I'm trying to build some data flows and go to create some projects, like lots of stuff we do. And then when we save all this, where does it store this information? Let's say after I create, I log out and I log in. I should be able to see those flows. I should be able to see those connections. I should be able to see those projects, all those. But it can show me if it has stored those information into some database first, right? So what we do is, after you install the BODS software, we configure some repositories. We configure some repository, so which will be referred in with the database. We say, I would like to create one repository, and for this repository I would like to use this database with this connection details. So what it does is, when you say create that repository, then all the system tables required by the BODS to store this metadata information, it creates those tables into that particular database and keeps it ready. Then when you log into BODS, it will ask you which repository you want to log in. When you choose a repository and when you build the data flows, information about all those flows are maintained into that particular standard tables of the database. So did you understand this, the concept of repository was? Yeah. And this mainly they'll have something called local and central. See, the local repository is specific to that user. The database, whatever you're formulating, is specific to that particular user, that is local. When you say central, it is like a common across all the users. So they normally the users log into the local repository and they do the developments and then publish them to the central repositories. Okay.
Sir,
Yeah.
I have one question. So BODS is all about.
Sorry, voice is breaking.
Now, sir.
Yeah.
So BODS is a kind of a bridge where, I mean, it between database and the other application, is it?
Exactly. It is like an ETL tool which can extract from any system to any system. So I would like to leverage the tool to extract even data to HANA also.
Okay, so that we can use the data in HANA.
So that once the data is loaded into HANA, those tables, those data can be, or tables or data can be used for modeling and build your views and expose them for reporting.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, sir. Yeah, understood. Thank you.
So this is so local is specific to that user, and central will be specific to all the users. And when the objects are in the local repository, only that particular user can see them. And only when he publishes them to central, all other users will be able to see access those objects. Okay, good. So like this, we can create our own repository also. If you get into programs, data services, you'll have something you'll have called data services repository manager. Like this, you can log in. See here, you can say you want to create a repository which is referring to local or central. You can do anyway. If I say local, and it will ask me you want to create that repository in which database, whether HANA database or SQL Server, SQL Anywhere, what database you want to create. I can go with anything. And then give the corresponding details and say create. So then it creates all those standard tables. It creates those standard tables, what is required to store that information in the respective databases. That is about creating repositories. Yeah. Okay. Next, you'll have server manager, data services server manager. It's like about handling your server, starting, restarting your servers and all this. See? Here we can close and restart the server and all the stuff can be done. And the next major thing is job server. once we have the repository created, we create a job server within the BODS course, and this job server will be associated with the repository. So when you log into certain repository to configure data flows and to execute those data flows, we'll be using the job server, and all those job server have to be configured in this server manager. When you go to the server manager, see, you see these job servers here. Select this jobs, say configuration editor. There are already some job servers available. If you want, you can add a new. Say I would like to add some job server, and every job server will be associated with some port. Okay, and then you have to specify the repository, so that this job server will get associated with some repositories. So I already have one. For example, if I look at this, I have some job server name, new job server name. This is my number, and I've associated with some repository, which is where the repository is stored in HANA database. Okay, like this, you can create a job server. Then there's something called Access server. We use this Access server when you basically want to do real-time jobs. So BODS can also be used for scheduling some real-time jobs also. Instead of we scheduling it in the background, we can also have real-time jobs created in BODS. So this Access server will be job server for background jobs, and this is for real-time jobs. Okay. So like this, we need to have basically create a job server and associate with the repository also. So let's say I already have that done, so we don't have to worry on about creating a repository or having a job server. And then you'll have management console, where you can basically do a lot of administration activities about, let's say you want to configure some new users, or you want to configure some repositories. All those, say you want to do background scheduling of the jobs, all those can, and configure some real-time jobs, all those can be done from the management console. And then you'll have mainly something called designer, which will be basically used for designing your data flows in BODS. So once you have the repository and job server and specific user to work on that, will be 98% or 95% will be working on this component, data services designer, through which you will be building your data flows. Yeah. So I'm just getting into the designer. So this is my BODS server name, and the port is 6400, and HANA. That's my user. I'm trying to log in. When I say login, it does ask me what is this? It is asking me to choose a repository. So there are multiple repositories which are created. I'm just choosing. You remember, I had a job server associated with BODS 8. This is the repository I want to work on. So it asks me the password of the repository, because when I choose this repository, it is connecting to some database. So I'm choosing this. So this is the data services designer. This is the welcome page, and you have a project area at the top, and then different object libraries. The ready-made, all not ready-made, existing objects are available here, and then you can start working on this. Yeah. Okay. So when you go to work with designer, so this will be the tool where you basically build all your data flows of the ETL data flows, to which can extract data from different sources and load into your targets. Okay. So we need to understand certain vocabulary before we get into this. So people from BW background, generally when you're trying to do your modeling to organize your objects, we use something like info area, right? Or in BO, you use project when you're organizing some universes of data foundation objects. Here also we use something called project, just to organize all the data flows, or organize all your jobs. So as part of designer, I'm going to create some jobs which can basically as part of the job, I would define my data flows saying this is my source. So when I say flow, it would have some sequence of the job, sequence of the operations to be performed. Say step 1, I want this, step 2, I want this, step 3, I want this. All this will be operations and configured as a data flow. And there can be multiple data flows into one job. So when I schedule the job, it executes those data flows. So you'll have a project to organize your jobs. And the project you're going to create your jobs. As part of the jobs, you will define the data flows. So as part of the data flow, you will have what do you basically specify. I can say you will specify the SOLs, say source object, and what kind of transformations you want, and what will be your target object. And this is what simple. So you basically go to creating a project, you're going to creating a jobs, and you're going to create data flows within that. Within the data flow, you're going to define what's going to be a source object, means whether it will be a table or a flat file or what it is, and take the source object and perform all kind of transformations you want and assign it to the target object where the data is going to feed. So this is the kind of overall picture of what we're trying to do in designer. Okay. And next vocabulary was, so in BW, see, let's say you have your BW system ready and then you would like to extract data from ECC. So what do we have any prerequisites to be performed to extract from ECC? When you want to extract data from ECC to BW, let's say I have an ECC system given to you, installed, and I've got BW system installed. There are two new systems. Now I would like to integrate this ECC system to BW and extract the data. So do I need to do some kind of do I need to do something in BW to get this going? Yes, RFC connection. And once the RFC connection is created, I create what? By using the RFC connections in BW and ECC, I create what? What do I create in BW? So data source. Before data source, do I need to have something? Do we source system? Do we create something called source system connection? Yes. So before I start extracting the data from ECC to BW, or before I integrate them, and by leveraging RFC connections or ABAP stack, I need to create a source system connection, which is actually a connection between, which establishes a connection between ECC and BW. Same way, similar to that, even in BODS, if I have to extract data from any source, say for example, I would like to extract data from ECC. If BODS is supposed to extract data from ECC, should it have a connection to that ECC? Or let's say, using BODS, I would like to insert data into HANA. So should I have the connection details of HANA to insert data into HANA database? So which are the system, whether I'm using that source, because BODS is ETL. It will not store any data as it is. It takes data from one system and puts the data into another system. So I say like this, the application from where BODS is picking data from, I call it a source application. And the application where the data is being inserted into, I call that as target application. So before BODS, before we start building the data flows to extract data from an application 1 and load it to application 2, do I need to have connections towards both the applications? Had it be used as source application or target application, I need to have connections to both, right? Yeah, because this is going to be middleware. Yeah, so we call that as data store connections. Data stores. Here we call this as a data stores. In BODS terminology, the source system connection to the applications, we refer with the terminology as data stores. Okay, boss. Say for example, if I need to extract data from ECC and load into HANA, I need to create a data store connection to HANA and I also need to create a data store connection to ECC. Using those data store connections, replicate the metadata objects from both, and then start connecting them and then load the data. That is how it happens. Okay, you understood about data store connections? Yeah. So data store connections will be used for connecting to the different sources applications. Now look at this here. In the object local object library, I can show you the connections what is already created. These are the connections what is already created. There are some data store connections. If you want, I can create a new. Right click. I can say new. Say name of the data source. What is the type of data store you want? Do you want to connect to database, or do you want to connect to SAP applications? Do you want to connect to BWS source or target, CBEL, Oracle? What do you want to connect to? So these are different connections available what you can create data store for. Yeah. And sometimes you remember in BW also, apart from extracting data from ECC or some non-SAP databases or something, do we also have requirement of extracting data from flat files, CSV sometimes, or XLS sometimes? Yes. Yeah. Even BODS supports the extraction of the flat files, CSV or Excel files or something. For that, we go with something called file format. Look at this. There is another node called formats. So we have to create a file, because when you extract data from flat file, do you create data source with the transfer structure and all this? When I say transfer structure is what? It is matching your file structure. Same way, here I'll have to create a file format. You can assume that as a data store. Within the file format, I'll have to specify the structure of the file, which is nothing but your transfer structure. Then once that is done, I can use this file structure as a source and extract the data. So you'll have data stores, file formats. Okay. Then once we have the connections established and we're able to consume the data from source and to the target, I said we can do all kind of transformations. For performing transformations, we don't need to write code. So what SAP has done is they want to simplify the transformation concept. So what they've done, if you go to this transforms, they've given different set of transformations available. Data integrator. They've got different components which can implement different logics, say date transfer, XML pipeline, table comparison, pivot, reverse pivot, CDC, key generation. These all are different types of data quality transformations. Okay, we have platform transformations, text data processing, like processing of unstructured data also can be handled in BODS. All these are the different kind of transformations what can be applied at this part of it. And if there are some transformations which goes beyond this, we can also write scripting. BODS also allows scripting to be implemented. Okay. So that's about having the source target, and that's about having different kinds of transformations. And this is what I was referring to as about data flows. This is what I was referring to jobs, whether it could be batch jobs or real-time job. Or this is what I was referring to, something called projects, jobs, data flows, then connections, then transformations. Then we can have some custom functions. I told you we can write scripting, so you can create your own custom functions, something like you can use some scripting and write your own custom functions and use them for transformations. You can do that also. Yeah. So this is what you'll have, like you'll have the welcome page and project work area, then you have different objects available, and you got to start using this and then build this. Even from designer, I can log into management console. I told you about administration component. See, like you can go with administration, auto documentation, data, all this can be done here. If I just get administration. We use this when you want to connect BODS to BW, some RFC connections, some kind of server management, administration management can be done here. Can SAP connection, server groups, batch loading, all this can be controlled from this management console here. Yeah? Okay. You remember I have actually logged into one repository, right? BODS8. Yeah, so we can start working on to this data services. So this is pretty much introduction, just a very high level, because almost each word is like one big topic. If you just know this much, that should be enough. Need not worry so much. Yeah? So that will give you a fair idea of what BODS is, how it works out, how they do in this. Yeah. Now we can do some examples and see how does BODS work in. Yeah. Any doubts still here, boss? No, no doubts. Okay. So just give me. I'll just take 5 minutes break. BODS is a separate licensing, boss. Yes. BODS is majorly CPU based licenses. Depending on how many number of CPUs you install, you will get licensing cost based on that. Yeah. Just give me break for 5 minutes. I'm just coming. Someone I'll talk to them and come. One second. I'm back. Boss. The person who's logged in is waiting for name. Who is it? But don't log in with waiting for name. Just log in with your name or email ID, please. Okay. Or respond to Pawan. I'm disconnecting you, boss. If you want, you can speak. Tell your name. Yeah. Okay. Case one. We'll just take some .csv and load into HANA, boss. Case one. Let's see how to. In HANA, I would like to create some. Let's create one schema. Nine cubics BODS is my schema where I'm targeting. Okay. And I've got some files. So I would like to take this file, customer data. This is my CSV file. I've got some 6 columns and I've got values separate with commas. It's a comma separated value CSV file. So how do we basically take care of this here? It's a new project. So I've just got, I'm in the designer. So I'll say create project. I'll say 9 cubics project. So I've just created one project here. So under this project, I'm going to create all my jobs here. Just I'll close this welcome page. I'll select this, right click and say new. So I can go with real-time job or batch job here. I'll go batch job. Job underscore case one. Yeah. So this is my job. So I've got a project, I've got a job. Under this job, I'm going to create a data flow. So I can use this tools palette here to create my data flow here. See, you see this, since I've clicked on, since I've clicked on the job, I'm seeing the canvas of the job here. I can close this window. So when I select this job, I get to see the canvas of the job. Within this, I can define what do you want into this job. Yeah. So I need a data flow. I can just select from here and put the data flow here. Or I can get to this data flow objects here. From here, I can say right click, say new data flow, create some say df case one, and bring this data flow. Anyway, it's fine. Anyway, it's okay. Okay. So let me get the data flow here. Df 9 cubics case one. That's my data flow. So I get inside now. See now, I have a project, I have a job, I have a data flow. So any object you select, it does open the canvas of that object. So if I select job, I see the definition of the job. If I select the data flow, I see the definition of the data flow. Okay. So now I'm getting into data flow. See here I can see I'm into data flow. Here I need to specify what is my source, what's my target, and go and specify the mapping and all the stuff I need to do. Okay. So my source is going to be a flat file CSV. So I'll let to create my file format. So I'll go to formats, flat file, right click, say new flat file format. This is almost like creating your data source in BWS. So this is like specifying some name of the format. Customer data is a case 1. Okay, and I specify the file name. Mine was customer data. So yes. So it says override the current schema with this. Yeah, say yes. So it gives you the fields. And I want the first row to be as header row, right? Okay. Skip header row. Yes. So it takes the first row as my header, and based on the data, it is proposing those data types. If you're okay, you're fine. I want this as varchar. Customer name is all okay. Amount is okay. Quantity is okay. I'm okay with this. I'm okay with this structure, and then you can say save and close. Like this, you've defined your flat file data source with the source information and the structure. Okay, this is what we call as file format. Say okay. Now, once the file format is created, I'm going to use this as a source, right? So I'm in the within the data flow. I'm going to drag this file as my and make it as what as a source. Next thing is I would like to push data into HANA, right? So I need to have a connection towards HANA database. HANA is an application, database. I need to have a data store connection. I told you this is what we want to create it. Now I'm going to create a data store to connect to HANA bus. So I get into this tab called data stores. You can right click and say new. So I'll say data store HANA something, say HANA DB. Okay. So what is the kind of data store are we creating? Is it going to be a database or is it an application or what is it? I'll say it's going to be a database. Then it will ask me what type of database is it? Is it going to be DB2 or SQL Anywhere or Sybase, IQ? What is it? I wanted SAP HANA. Then version of the database 1.x. You can also use a DS data source what is created, or I can just give server details. Mine is SAP Cubex is my server. I'm just giving the HANA server details. And if you get it HANA, my server is SAP Cubex. And port, you remember index server port. My instance number is 01, so my index server port would be what? 30115. And username, I need to use this. If the details what you've given is correct, when you say apply, it does give you no error. If there's any connection problem, it would give an error when you say apply. Say okay, that's it. I have a connection created. DS HANA DB bus. Now, I would like to extract data from this file and load into a table in HANA. But do we have the table already created bus? Do we already have a table created in BODS? No, right? So then what we can do, during the runtime of the data flow, BODS can create table for you in your database. So you don't have to explicitly create a table in HANA and then push into it. First example, I'm going to show you without having a table in HANA. So then we use a concept called template tables. If I expand this data stores, I can use template table or normal tables. I'm going to use a template table. Template table in the sense, you don't have the table in HANA. When I run this job, at the runtime of the job, it creates my table in HANA with this name and then puts the data into the table. Yeah? So I can select template table from here and then place it here. It asks me what is the name of the table you want. I want as customer, and I would like to use this table in this data store connection. HANA DB is my source system connection. Your owner name is not the username; it's the schema name. So you just created 9Cubex BODS. What is the schema name? 9Cubex. This is the schema name in which you would like to have this table created. Okay, say okay. Fine. And only thing is, I don't want any transformations. I just want the data as it is from the source to the table. Okay. And so what I've done is I just connect, same like APD in BW, just connect the source and target and then map it. And then that's it. My configuration is done. As per data flow, I have a source and target connected. I just have to execute this job. So execute, save it, and then I have executed the job now. So it's going to use this job server to run this. Say okay. So it says job has been successfully completed. You can see the status of the records. Row count 5 records and 5 records have been written into this. Now if I go get into HANA and let me filter for my schema 9 cubex BODS, I would see some table. This is the custom. See, I've never created this table. When I've scheduled a job in BODS, this has created the table here like this, and you can see the date. I see those 4 records loaded into this table. And when I see the definition, but I see all those 6 column structures, but there's no primary key defined for this, right? So what I want is, while creating the table from BODS, I want primary key to be defined. So I'll just change this flow a little bit. I would like to use one more customer PK with primary key. I want to see in the same 9 cubex BODS, the same schema. So now, while reading data from this file and loading to table, I would like to define some primary key, and I would like to rename some columns. All this. So there's query transform, very very important. If you're really strong with this transform, pretty much you can handle pretty much of the majority of the transformations. We have something. So as part of transformations, they've given some a transform called query, retrieves a data set that satisfies the condition that you specify. I'm just using this query transform. Okay, and connect this file to this transform and double click on this to get to properties of this transform. So you have all these columns in the source, and what is it you want? I want all these columns into the target. CNO is fine, and I want this not a CNAME, I want this customer name. You can right click, properties. I want this customer name. Where can I can change the I can do all this customization. I want length to be 10, and I want this as customer address. I want this as a region. Not, I don't want to say C region. I just want to say a region. Amount is fine, and then quantity is fine. I want to set this customer number as primary. You can also use query transform to set that as rename columns, data types. I want to set this as primary key here. That's fine. And connect this query transform to my table. Okay. Now let's run this job and then see. It's going to, again, I've used template table. At the runtime, it's going to create the table for me. If I refresh, so I have another table now. I have the same data, but with the naming as customer name, address, region. If I open the definition, I also have the key here, primary key defined. So this way I can use this query transform and do. This is all the template tables, right? Next, what I want is I would like to physically create a table in HANA, then use that as a target. So I have the table created. But if I go to this table, there's no data in it yet. I just defined this table. So this is a physical table already available in HANA, which I would like to target this. So I go to my BODS. So I don't want a template table to, it's the same file, query is all fine, but I don't want a template table. I would like to use a physical table which is already there in BODS, in HANA. So I open this, this is my connection, expand this. There is a menu called tables. I can replicate the metadata of the table which is already there. So I need to get the table definition of HANA into a BODS. So to get that, you can say tables, right click and say import by name. If you know the name, you can say import by name and specify the name of the table. What was it? T underscore customer. It is a 9 cubics BODS and say import. So when I say import, it is not importing data, it is just importing the structure of the table definition. See, I get this way. Or you can double click on the source system. That is one way of importing metadata by name. Otherwise, you can double click on this data store. It basically now it will start showing you all the tables of the connection. It will show you all the tables of this connection. You can select any table you want. You can just right click and say import. Either ways can be done. Okay. If you know the name, you can just import just specifically by specifying that name. Okay. So I've just taken the table, what was being replicated as a target now. This is a physical table which is already there. I want this as a target. Connect this. That is it. And moreover, now what I want is instead of loading, remember I don't know, data was for multiple regions or something. We'll see that later. Okay, so I'll just schedule this job. Execute, yes. So job is executed. Now if I get in, I have this table. You can refresh this. This T underscore customer is filled with this. So like this, you can use a template table concept, or the physically, if you have a table already in HANA, you can import the metadata and then use it as a target table. Either way is fine. Yeah. Now, so the data is already loaded. If I try to run this file again, because we have a primary key, remember, I already have a customer record with, see it says violation, unique constraint violated. So what is happening here? I was trying to insert a record of a customer which is where the key is already available, because I already have a table with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the file what you're trying to again is again of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it says primary key is unique constraint is not identified, so it fails. So for example, let's add some new customer. So it's some new name and okay, I save this. So I have new customer in my file. If I run this job again, again I have a failure because it says the problem is with the customer 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. It's already there. So what I would like to do now, this is the problem. So what I want is before I'm loading into this table, I need to do a comparison of the table and see whether the incoming record is already there in the table or not. If it is not there, let it basically only if it is not there, let it perform the inserts onto it. Yeah. Then what we can do? We'll have some transformation available which can do comparison of the table whether the record is already there or not. See, there's something called table comparison, compares two data sets and produces the difference between them as the dataset with rows which are flagged as insert, update, and delete. Means what does it do? It compares the two table sets and gives me the difference, like which is to be inserted, which can be deleted or what it is. I'll say bring the table comparison, connect this query to this comparison and get it. This is my source kind of table, and I need to compare the source to the target table. Which one? From this ANADB T customer, and the key is the customer number, and the input primary key. Input also I won't have the primary key, which is customer number. This is going to compare with this primary key customer number, and all of the columns to be compare columns will be here. So I'm going to take the input coming data, compare it with this table, and then generate me a difference. Now this, see, this is the incoming data. I have query transform. I have this table comparison, which now this table comparison will compare the incoming data with the T customer and gives me, this will just give me the record set which tells me whether which to be inserted, which to be updated or what. Look at this. It says compares two data sets and produces a difference between them as a data set with rows which are flagged for insert, update, or delete rows. Okay. Now connect this table comparison to this table. Let's see what does it do. I have put as sorry, that as varchar, no? For doing this, this has to be integer. Now I can't convert. Let me do one thing. So let me just edit this. Make this as an int. So this was template table which I created. I would like to make that as a real table now. This is one T1. So right click and say import. Now this will be a physical table now, T1 customer. And what I want query transform, then I would like to do a table comparison. Already I've got T1 customer now. It's not refreshing. So I've got all the 6 customers loaded. So I would like to load only the delta records. I've done table comparison now. Compare the incoming with the table called T1, and the key in the table is customer number. The incoming is going to be this C1. చూద్దాం అది రిఫ్లెక్ట్ అయింది. Okay, C1, and these are the columns to be compared. Compare all the columns and see which is a new record or which is a update record. And then I'm going to use the same target table. Compare this. So successfully loaded. Now I should see only the new record loaded person. See? So it compares the incoming data and the target table and only loads the new record what is going to come. Like this we can handle the table comparison option also. Okay.
Sir, template table cannot be used for reporting?
Reporting? No. See, when I use template table, at the runtime it creates a table. Yeah. Now this table can be used for reporting in HANA. Yes. We can use this into our views and then do reporting. Yes, we can do. But if you want to leverage that into BODS again, but once the template.
So what is the difference between this physical table and template table?
See, the template table means at the runtime BODS will create based on the definition, it creates a table in HANA. Okay. Two things.
Okay.
You won't load into HANA table. If the table is already existing, you will replicate the definition of it by importing the table definition and use that as a target. Or if you don't want to create the table during the runtime of the job, you want the table to be created, then I use template table. First time when you run, that will be template table. Once the table is created, then you will import that as a actual table. Yeah.
Okay.
So like this, you can build your flows. Yeah. That was a case one with flat file. You can still do much more things. Yeah. But we're okay. So case 2. I would like to extract from SAP ECC from a table. I would like to extract data from SAP ECC, which is a SAP application. From ECC, I would like to extract from table and load into HANA. Okay. So this will be your ECC system. I have the same table. I would like to use the same table Y sales in ECC and extract this information into HANA. Okay. So how would I do this? I get into the BODS again. I go with the next job. It's a job case 2. Okay. So inside the job, I would formulate my data flow. So get inside this data flow. You got to configure this source object, transfer target object, and then do the necessary transformations. So before I do this, do I need to create a connection towards my ECC first as a data store? I'll say new DS ECC applications. So you want to connect this to a database or you want to connect this to an SAP application. Then it asks me all the details of your server. This is my server name and 71 EHP is okay. Server name. That's my username and password. Click on advanced. My client, I'm logging to ECC is 800. I'm fine. See, look at this. This is the 800 client. I'm okay with the 800 client. system number is not 00. 1 second, 1 second. Yeah, so I'm going to give the instance number 71 here, system number. Okay, and that should say apply. If it's all fine getting connected, it doesn't give you an error. Otherwise, it gives an error here. So no error, so it got connected. This is my connection. And when I expand this ECC, it tells you, it gives me list of objects what you can consume from there. I can consume idocs, I can consume ODP data sources, tables, hierarchies, functions. Okay. Now this time I just want to consume a table. So do I need to replicate the table definition? Now I can right click on the table. Just import by name. If you know the name, what is the table name you want to import? Y sales. So the table has gotten. So within this data flow, I'll drag this table and make it as a source. And I want to push this into my HANA table. Since I don't have the table yet created, I would like to go with the template table. Say Y sales. Yeah? And I want this in Y cube 9 cubics BODS. Just connect this and execute. And that is it. Now you see the table here. Y sales, and you can see some column with the refresh. It is actually right clicking as if it is doing on the tables folder. See, when I right click on the table, I should get option like show data preview. I'm not getting that. It's not recognizing that I'm right clicking on this. And now I get this. See, now I have this table loaded. Like this, you can extract it from ECC and load into my HANA database also through BODS. See, now initially I loaded this with the template table. But next time when I load, it says again, it tries, if I use template table, it says the table is already existing. So once you create a template table, I must, for next time when you try to run, I must say import table. Now it would replicate the definition of the HANA table into BODS. Okay. That is one way of doing it. Next is we can use one more concept here. So I have this Y sales table. I would like to load into HANA database. But I don't want to use template table. I would like to use a table which is there in HANA bus, which is the physical table, which is already available. Now in HANA, two options you have. One option is in the required schema, you create a table with the same structure, yes. And then once the table is created, you go into DS and from the HANA DB connection, you will import the table and use the table as the target, yes. This is one option. Another option is we have an option called from ECC, from SAP applications, I can automatically import the metadata. Instead of creating the table, I can import the metadata automatically, okay, by using BODS. See, by using BODS you've seen BODS by extracting data, right? Apart from extracting data, I can also use BODS to import metadata into HANA database also. Look at how do I do this? Help, quick view, something called configure import server. Okay, so we have to configure the details of the BODS server, which will be used for importing the metadata for us. So configure. Say okay, next. So it will ask you all the details. What is my server address of my BODS? Repository name. Which repository should I use? You remember my repository? What was the repository I logged in? if I log in with the data service designer, remember what was the repository? See, look at this. What is it? BODS 8. So I'm going to use mine. So it has to use a repository BODS 8, which is a repository name in this, and ODBC connection to connect. See, this is the server name of BODS. Within the BODS server, which repository name should I use? And this is the port 8080 is my BODS. If you see this, where is welcome page? From here, when you click on this management console, it jumps to port 8080. This is the data services CMC port, okay? And this is the ODBC driver connection, which is built in the BODS server, which is connected to HANA. Okay. See, I'm okay with this finish. Now, once I have configured my BODS details, which will be working as import server, I can say import now. I can click on import from here, or either this way, file import, anyway is fine. Import. Now, what is it you want to import? You want to import SAP HANA content. Do you want to import data, or you want to import, what is this? Look at this. You want to import metadata or database? Metadata is nothing but the structure of the table, not the data. So I would like to do a not mass import will import lots of tables, but I would like to selectively import my metadata. Say selective import of metadata. Select this. So it is going to give me all the source to connections in this repository. Which connection? ECC server app. This is my connection what I created. Do you want to import a data source, extractor, or a table? I would say table. So next, which table you want to import? Y sales is my table. So it is searching the entire ECC system for this table definition. See, the table which is already there was YS sales. Select this Y sales and say add. Yeah. And I want to import this table definition to which schema you want. Remember 9cubex BODS and say next. I can just click on, if you really want to check if it's all fine. This is a table. This is how it's getting created. You can say validate. So everything is fine. Finished. Now once that is done, I should see the table definition brought in into my HANA database. Y sales. Look at this. Open definition. I have the table created, but will there be any data in it? No data, not yet loaded. Now I would like to use this physically imported table as a target here. So what I'll do, I'll go to my HANA database connection, right click, import by name. What was it? Y sales 9cubex BODS. Okay, so I use this Y sales as my target and then load this in. And if you don't handle delta, all this, you have to use query transform, table comparison, all those you can do. Once that is done,
Sir, different.
Data has been brought in. Okay. Yeah. What is it?
Sir, different schemas can have tables with the same name, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, but here we are not specifying from which schema we are fetching the table. So, how is the system going to understand?
I'm specifying it. No. When I say right click, import by name, owner is nothing but I'm giving 9 BODS. I'm giving like this.
Oh, okay.
Here owner is nothing but schema here. Okay. Okay. So like this, you can extract data from table of ECC. Okay. So from SAP ECC, we can also use ODP extractor. And load into HANA. Okay, now, so when I say ODP extractor, it will be a normal data source exposed as ODP bus. So how do we handle this? Now look at this. So I would like to extract it from this table itself. So that I can enable delta on this table on this with numeric pointer delta on this. And I'm going to create it as ODP and enable delta mechanism also. Okay. So why sales? So how do I create? I'm going to go with the generic extractor. Z say BODS ODP. Say create. I want to do SD. I want to go with the table Y sales. And I would like to enable delta on this numeric pointer delta on this VBLN field, so it recognizes the new record. I can't go with timestamp because the dates are really different. And then save it. Okay. I have the data source created. Now I need to expose this data source as a ODP data source. Okay. So for this, we use a T code SC38. We have a program called RODPS underscore OS underscore expose. Is a program to set your data source as ODP. Execute this. It will ask you for your data source name and say release data source. Say okay. Okay. Then we can also see for normal extractor we use RSA3, right, to check the extractor. For ODP you can again check this RODP. REPL test is a program to test the ODP object. Yeah. Without ESH modeling, give your ODP name. ODP is operational data provisioning. Like say you would like to expose the operational data for reporting or provisioning. Extract this. It'll tell you, it's more like simulator RSA3. Yeah. So it is able to extract this. Okay. Now let me consume the ODP in my BODS. Now let's go to BODS, expand your ECC. This is my ODP object here. Select the ODP object, right click and say import by name. What was that name? ZBODS ODP. Okay. That let's see. When you importing, it will ask you for something called the consumer and the project. You can understand this is like an info package for you. Okay. You can understand this is like an info package for you. Just say IP 001. And this is like CDC. CDC is like you want the delta mechanism to be happening only for certain records. It is similar to your data selection in your info package in BW, but I don't want anything selections. I want everything. So import. So I get this now. Let me create a new job. Job underscore case 3. Let me have the data flow. So I use this ODP extractor, ZBODS ODP IP as a source, and then I want some target table. Even for target table, I don't want to use template table. I can use this import server. You can see import to create a table similar to my data source. Say drop down, I'll say extractor, yeah, and say next. Now I'm going to replicate the extractor. So based on the transfer structure of your data source, it creates my table automatically. Select your extractor, so add. I want this to be replicated in the schema 9 cubics PODS. So validate. There's a problem in the validating because it's a primary key and this cannot be nullable, right? So I set this nullable as false and so now validate. That's fine. Next, it's going based on the data source structure, it's going to create a table for you. Refresh that. There's some refresh problem. See, I have a table now Z BODS ODP. As per the structure, it is defined the table structure. Okay. Now let me go to BODS, get to the HANA connection, import the table. Yeah. Importing this table from which schema? 9 cubics. So I have this table now. Make target. I can get this connected to this. You can validate whether it's all fine. It says there is no mapping. It says so there are 2 fields extra here and it doesn't have any mapping to this. So what I can do is I use some query transform because these schemas are different. I take this. I don't need these two. Just take only these what is required. And then this can be mapped. You can say validate, it's all fine. Okay. Now what I want is, this is like data source, right? I would like to run init load, then I would like to do a delta mechanism from there. So what I want double click on this data source and there's something like initial load, no, right? Set this initial load as yes. Okay. Now when I run this job, it is going to run the initial load. So if you remember in BW concept, once init load is done, it should enable it for delta Q, right? In for this ODP objects, the delta Q would be ODQmon. I told you other day. ODQmon is a delta Q for the ODP extractors. See, I don't see mine now yet. Yeah? Let me run this init load first, which load all the historical data. This is init load. You can see it. Since it is init load, it will extract all those records. Let's wait. Okay, completed. So it has brought in those 12 records from the table, all the records, and it has loaded that into HANA. 12 records have come, right? Good. And apart from this, it should have enabled it for delta. Now if I go to the queues, I should see my queue. Look at this. Now ZBODS ODP queue. I have IP00 is my info package. We get in. And it has brought in those 12 records. We can see those 12 records what was loaded also. Okay. Now I would like to process delta. Yeah. I'll go to SCL, numeric pointer, right? It will identify the creation of new record. So 14, right? So I'll create it with 15, some date, 15,000, INR, save, 16, 2 records, let's load, INR 16. Okay, now let me go to BODS. I'll make sure this is says now, this is going to be delta load. Now init load no anta. So init load no is nothing but your delta load. Okay. Now let's start this, trigger this load. It's going to handle the delta queue and get the delta records. So now it's going to process only 2 records for this. Yeah? What was still showing only one? Terminated. It's saying not any error message, it's saying error in ODP. That's fine, but that's how it starts bringing you delta records from this ODP. You start seeing any new request with these two new records, and that comes through delta. That's how you can handle your delta mechanism also with BODS by using ODP objects as your source bus. Yeah, that's okay. There's some error with the ODP configuration. We can't touch that now. Now from non-SAP database DB, let's say I've used MS SQL Server, and I would like to load it. So I would like to use some non-SAP source and then extract that. I would like to use SQL Server. I can use this database like AdventureWorks or some tables. I have some tables. I can use some of the table I can load in. Yeah, we can extract standard LO extractors. Yeah, good. He was asking, can I use standard extractors? Yes. But only thing is that must be ODP data source. So what you have is you have a table called RUS ATTR bus. You'll have a table called RUS ATTR. This will have a list of the data source what is supported as ODP bus. Let's say you want to go with 2LIS_11_VAHDR. You have this, so it is enabled for ODP, you can extract. Yes. Okay. So all the data source which is listed in this table can only be used for ODP bus, not others. So if you want extra ones, you have to install some new support packs, which will slowly SAP is giving all data source for ODP. All this can be used for ODP. Basic functionality of ODP in the actual concept. You'll have one data source consumed by multiple applications. Say, I will have this data source VHDL. It will be consumed by BW as a target. It will also be consumed by BODS as a target. So that is where they come out with a new delta Q. If you see a delta Q old one, RSS7, you only have the delta Q maintained specific to source system connection. Multiple SAP systems is fine. But what if I want to use this data source enabled for BODS and say BW system together? So I would like a multiple type of subscribers. So what they have done is they have come with ODP console. ODQ mon is a queue. If you get into any of these data sources, see it says this is a queue name. See, subscriber is SAP, and what is subscriber type here? Data service. I can have subscriber type as BW or data services. So the same data source can be subscribed by BW or BODS also. So the data source subscribed for BODS will have separate delta Q, and BW will have separate delta Q, and one data source can be used by multiple consumers or multiple subscribers. Did you get this ODP concept now? Hello? Previously, if you use normal delta, it can only be supporting one application. But I want this data source to be subscribed by multiple applications, either by BODS or by BW, anyone. So that is where we go with ODP concept. Okay. Yeah, ODP is only needed when you want to use subscribed by multiple applications. That is one. Even though it is single subscriber, now we will still prefer ODP when compared to normal data source, because see, if you look at this, it is very fast. And why it is fast? Because if you look at these records of 12 records, in the ODP it basically compresses them and explodes them. See, it's actually 1056 bytes. It was compressed to 362 bytes. So the level of compression is really high, and it improves your performance of loading. Even though it is single subscriber, now we're still preferring ODP because it improves the compression rates. And one more thing, when I use ODP, info package is not mandatory. I can straight away use DTP to load from ECC also. Yeah. So we have those benefits when you have it. Even single subscriber of BW, you can still use ODP because of this compression, which will improve the loading performance, and also you're able to flexibility of using DTP directly instead of using info packages. You can eliminate PSA. without BODS, can we bring ODP into HANA? No. Without BODS, how do we bring ODP into HANA? No. We can replicate, but we cannot. If you have BW on HANA, it's a different case. If you just have HANA, you cannot do, right? So ODP is only needed when we use BODS or any other transfer technology like SLTS. See, but even if it's a single BW system, you still can use ODP because of the benefits of compression technology and eliminating PSA in the data flows. Yeah. So now Srikosara, I would like to take this out. I already have a connection with DBSQL. I can replicate the table if I can just say. So this is I already have a data store which is connecting. Or I could have used. Can we extract tables from SLT and we can extract tables from SLT and BODS, which is more beneficial. You tell me SLT is real time and BODS will be background. See, when BODS supports real time, it doesn't mean it supports real time for every concept. So BODS supports real time from ECC only if it is IDOC, but table does not support real time. So if you want real time from table, it will be SLT. If you want batch mode, can you go with BODS or SLT, anything? Yeah. Okay, boss. Because the real time job in BODS is not for every kind of source. Only if it is IDOC, you'll have real time, but not for table or data source. No. Yeah. Table, data source, all will be background only. So it is taking some time. I should have imported manual. Can we replicate ODP into? Yes. I'll show you. I can use this table which is already replicated. I don't waste time. I use this table from MS SQL Server and use some template table and then so completed. And like this, you can also extract from non-SAP databases also. Three records loaded from SQL Server. Yeah. We can do that way. So can we use ODP in BW? Yes. See here in BW now we have ODP SAP extraction. So by using this connection, you can extract the ODP's data sources into BW also. Okay. So this is what I want to touch on BODS. I don't want to make it complex. This is how BODS can be leveraged for loading data in target. So can I also use HANA table as source in BODS? Yes. So for example, in this flow, I would like to use a table of HANA. I can use this from HANA. I would like to extract data. Yeah, I can do that. I can use this table as source. Now, HANA table can also be used as a source. Yeah. So there is some demo what we built in for our project. So, the job, like you'll have data flow, something like this. There are multiple files. I'm using some query. I'm joining the two data sets. Again, it's joining the sub-level tables and then putting into some target tables. Like you can build some flows like this. See, basically, you'll have some transformation like pivoting, reverse pivoting, and lots of stuff. If you're interested, if you really want see in the interviews, they'll ask you when discussion comes of BODs, you can tell them, I'm not a BODS consultant, but I've closely worked with the BODS team and I understand the BODS vocabulary and I used to closely work with them. That should be fine. But if you really are interested, you can always use, there's something in YouTube. If you go to BODS, there are some videos on YouTube which tells you about BODS. See, there's some.
Hi everyone.
There are some videos like this. You can use it. And I have got one PDF document which is really good one. Actually, what I've done, I don't know BODS. Okay. Because there was some project to be executed on BODS, I just learned BODS on fly, just with that PDF document. And I was just, because fundamentally I know the data warehousing concepts, I was just picking up BODS from there and I could do. I thought the PDF is a really good one. I'll share. If interested people can learn from there. Yeah. Actually, I purchased this book. So there's a cookbook on data services. Share this up, purchase up. Yeah, I got this book. This is pretty good, pretty neat enough. Explains you lots of stuff about scripting. I just learned scripting just with this document because I know the data warehousing concept, so it was not so tough for me to pick BODs from this point. If you're interested, you can go through. But nothing, see, this is not important when you go for interview, because if you start learning this also, you will end up, you definitely will not get a job, because you will not be able to focus on it. Just be strong with scripting, modeling, and reporting, and this the SLT also, that's enough. If you say BODs, you say this is a vast, again, this is a very vast topic. So you say, I only closely work with BODS team. I understand the BODS vocabulary. I used to give them the tables, what they need to fill in, and I'm just trying to understand the query transform and little bit I know here and there. That's fine. That is how we should answer in the interview. But if you're interested, if you're already happy with your job and you want to improvise your knowledge, then use this PDF and then try building your knowledge. Okay, boss? Yeah. Fine. Because there are people who are getting jobs without anything like this. Okay. If you're interested, just keep this document with you and hold it out. Whenever there's any requirement, if you're forced to work on it, then just go through this document and start working on it. This is not a very big tool. You can always pick it from there. Yeah. Because I could do a project just by looking at this document. Okay, boss. So we'll stop it here for today. And tomorrow we're going to go with DXE, direct extraction, as the data processing technique. Okay. Fine, boss. Thank you.